Your chickens are eating money. Literally, every time they peck at that commercial feed, you're watching your wallet shrink. The average backyard flock burns through $50 to $100 worth of feed every single month. That's $600 to $1,200 a year for eggs that you could buy at the store for way less, unless you stop paying for feed entirely. Sounds impossible, right? Here's the thing. Chickens aren't supposed to eat pellets from a bag. They've been scratching, foraging, and thriving on whatever they could find. And the absolute best part, you can recreate that system in your own backyard using 3 dead simple methods that work together like a well-oiled machine. Keep watching because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to cut your feed bill to zero, not reduce it, eliminate it. Let's start with something your chickens are already doing, destroying things. Ever let your chickens out and come back to find your garden looking like a crime scene? Holes everywhere, mulch scattered, plants obliterated. That's not chaos. That's chickens doing exactly what evolution designed them to do, and you're about to weaponize that instinct. System 1 is the rotational paddock method. It's fancy language for a simple concept. You're going to divide your yard into sections and let your chickens demolish one section at a time while the others recover and regrow. Think of it like a salad bar that refills itself. Here's how it works. Take your available space and split it into at least 3 separate areas. 4 is better. 5 is ideal if you've got the room. Each section gets temporary fencing. Nothing permanent. Even just some stakes and string if your birds aren't an escape artist. You're building a rotation, not a prison. Now here's where it gets interesting. You're not just letting them loose on bare dirt. Each paddock needs to be planted with high-calorie, fast-growing plants that chickens go absolutely crazy for. Alfalfa, chicory, and the absolute champion of chicken forage, comfrey. That stuff grows like it's angry and chickens devour it. Plant your paddocks in early spring. Give them about 4 to 6 weeks to establish. While they're growing, your chickens stay in paddock 1. They'll eat it down, scratch it up, fertilize it with their droppings, and generally turn it into a wasteland. Perfect. That's the plan. Once paddock 1 looks like a disaster zone, move your flock to paddock 2. Paddock 1 gets to rest. And here's the magic. With all that nitrogen-rich chicken manure worked into the soil, that paddock explodes back to life in about 3 to 4 weeks. Way faster than it grew the first time. By the time your chickens have rotated through all your paddocks, the first one is ready again. It's a loop, a self-sustaining loop that requires almost zero input from you after the initial setup. You plant once, and the chickens do the rest. They eat, they fertilize, they move on, rinse, and repeat. But here's what nobody tells you about the rotational paddock method. The secret weapon isn't just the greens, it's the bugs. When chickens tear up a paddock, they're not just eating plants. They're hunting. Every scratch of their claws uncovers grubs, beetles, worms, and larvae. Protein, lots of it. That's the stuff that makes their egg yolks deep orange and their meat rich and flavorful. A properly managed rotational paddock can provide up to 30% of your flock's dietary needs. That's nearly a third of their food for free forever. But we're not stopping at 30%. We're going for 100%, which brings us to System 2. Chickens have a weird relationship with gross stuff. The grosser, the better. Rotting fruit, love it. Decaying plants, can't get enough. Squirming maggots, absolute delicacy. This is where the compost integration system comes in. And it's about to sound disgusting until you realize it's genius. You're already composting, right? Or you should be. Kitchen scraps, garden waste, grass clippings, all that organic matter breaking down into black gold for your garden. Now imagine your chickens doing half the work for you while feeding themselves at the same time. Here's the setup. Build or designate a compost area right next to your chicken run. Not inside the run, next to it. The compost needs time to do its thing before the chickens dive in. Start throwing your kitchen scraps into the compost pile. Fruit cores, coffee grounds, eggshells, stale bread, wilted lettuce, anything organic. No meat or dairy. That stuff attracts rats and creates problems. Just plant-based waste. Let that pile sit for about 3 to 5 days. This is when the magic happens. That rotting organic matter becomes an insect breeding ground. Flies lay eggs. Those eggs become larvae. Maggots, hundreds of them. Beetles move in. Worms multiply. Your compost pile becomes a writhing protein factory. After 5 days, open the gate. Let your chickens into the compost area. Stand back and watch the feeding frenzy. They will tear through that pile like it's Thanksgiving dinner. Every maggot, every beetle, every worm gets hunted down and devoured. In about 20 to 30 minutes, your chickens have just consumed more protein than a week's worth of commercial feed could provide. But they're not done. While they're in there hunting bugs, they're also eating the partially decomposed plant matter, soft, broken down vegetables and fruits that are way easier for them to digest than raw scraps. And they're shredding everything with their claws, mixing it, aerating it, and speeding up the composting process for you. You're getting free chicken feed and better compost at the same time. That's not a win-win. That's a win-win-win because you're also eliminating food waste that would have gone to a landfill. Here's the rhythm. Feed your compost pile for 3 to 5 days. Let the bugs move in, release the chickens, let them go to town for 30 minutes to an hour, then move them back to their main area and start the cycle over. You can do this 2 to 3 times per week, depending on how much waste your household produces. One important note, don't let them live in the compost full time. They'll eat everything too fast, including the beneficial bacteria and fungi that actually break down the organic matter. You need that decomposition to keep happening. So it's controlled access only, timed raids, not permanent residents. The compost integration system can provide another 20 to 30% of your flock's diet. We're at 50 to 60% free feed now. Still not enough. You need System 3. Consistency is the enemy of free chicken feed. If you're relying on fresh greens and compost bugs, you're at the mercy of seasons. Winter kills your paddock growth. Cold weather slows decomposition. Your chickens still need to eat, which means you're back to buying feed 6 months out of the year unless you plan ahead. System 3 is the soldier fly and fodder factory. This is your insurance policy, your backup plan, your winter lifeline, and it runs on automation. Let's start with soldier flies, not house flies. Black soldier flies, completely different species. These things are incredible. The larvae, often called grubs, are 40% protein and 30% fat. That's better than most commercial feeds, and they're obsessed with rotting food. Here's how you farm them. You need a dedicated container. A large plastic bin works perfectly. Drill small holes near the top for ventilation. Fill the bottom with about 2 inches of damp cardboard or wood shavings. That's your bedding. Now add food waste. Not compost pile food waste. We're talking the nasty stuff. Overripe bananas, moldy bread, rotten tomatoes, anything that's too far gone even for your compost. Dump it in the bin. If you live in a warm climate, black soldier flies will find your bin naturally. They're attracted to decomposing matter like sharks to blood. They'll lay eggs in your waste. Those eggs hatch into larvae. Those larvae consume everything in the bin and grow fat and protein rich in about 2 weeks. If you're in a colder area or want to speed things up, you can order starter larvae online. Plenty of suppliers sell them specifically for composting and chicken feed. Introduce a few hundred to your bin and let them go to work. Here's the beautiful part. Black soldier fly larvae self-harvest. When they're ready to pupate, they instinctively crawl up and out of the waste looking for dry ground. So you build a ramp inside your bin that leads to a collection bucket. The mature larvae crawl up the ramp, fall into the bucket, and boom, you've got a container full of fresh, wriggling protein. Scoop them out and feed them to your chickens. They'll lose their minds. Soldier fly larvae are chicken candy, and you didn't do anything except dump your waste in a bin and let nature handle the rest. One bin can produce several pounds of larvae per week depending on size and temperature. That's a lot of free feed. But we're not done yet. The other half of System 3 is fodder. If you've never heard of fodder, prepare to have your mind blown. Fodder is grain that's been sprouted and grown into a dense mat of greens. It's like a living, nutritious carpet that chickens go absolutely feral for. Here's what you need. A bag of barley, wheat, or oat seeds. You can get these cheap from a feed store or bulk supplier. A set of shallow trays with drainage holes. Plastic seedling trays work great. A sunny spot or a grow light. If you're doing this indoors during winter, soak your seeds in water for 12 hours. Drain them and spread them evenly across your trays, about 1 layer thick. Rinse them twice a day with fresh water, not soaking them. Just a quick rinse to keep them moist. In about 7 days, you'll have a thick mat of green sprouts, roots tangled together, about 6 to 8 inches tall, roots, stems, leaves, even the leftover seeds. Pull the whole thing out of the tray and toss it to your chickens. They'll attack it like wolves. The nutritional content of sprouted grain is insane compared to dry seed. You're looking at a 600% increase in vitamin content. Proteins break down into easier to digest amino acids. And here's the kicker. 1 pound of dry grain produces 6 to 7 pounds of fresh fodder. You're multiplying your input. That same pound of grain that would have lasted your flock one day as dry seed now lasts a week as fresh fodder. Set up a rotation. 7 trays. Start a new tray every day. By the time you harvest tray 7, tray 1 is ready to restart. You've got a continuous production line of fresh greens, even in the dead of winter when your paddocks are frozen and your compost has slowed to a crawl. The soldier fly and fodder factory covers the remaining 40 to 50% of your flock's diet. Add it to your rotational paddocks and compost system, and you're at 100%. Completely free, completely sustainable. No feed store, no monthly bills. Done. But let's talk about what nobody mentions when they're selling you the dream of free chicken feed. The work. This isn't a set it and forget it system. It's 3 systems working together, and each one requires maintenance. Your paddocks need planting and monitoring. Your compost needs feeding and timing. Your soldier fly bin needs waste input and occasional cleaning. Your fodder trays need daily rinsing. It's not hard work, but it's consistent work. If you skip a week, your systems fall apart, your paddocks get overgrazed, your compost dries out, your soldier fly colony crashes, your fodder molds. So, here's the reality check. If you've got 5 chickens and you're doing this as a hobby, this system is absolutely worth it. You're saving $50 to $100 a month, and the time investment is maybe 30 minutes a day once everything's established. If you've got 50 chickens and you're trying to run a small farm, the math gets trickier. You'd need bigger paddocks, industrial-sized compost bins, multiple soldier fly farms, and a whole rack of fodder trays. It scales, but it scales with effort. You've got to decide if your time is worth more than the feed cost. For a lot of people it is, because this isn't just about money. It's about knowing exactly what your chickens are eating. It's about closing the loop on your homestead. It's about not being dependent on supply chains and feed stores and price increases you can't control. And here's something most people don't consider. Chicken health. Birds raised on this 3-system method are objectively healthier than birds on commercial feed. Their immune systems are stronger because they're getting diverse nutrition. Their gut health is better because they're consuming probiotics from fermented compost matter and live insects. Their eggs are richer, their meat is more flavorful, and they're happier because they're doing what chickens are supposed to do: foraging, hunting, eating fresh food. Chickens on commercial feed get bored. They peck at each other. They develop bad habits. There's always something to do, something to scratch, something to hunt. They're mentally stimulated, and that matters more than you'd think. Let's talk timing. When should you start this? Spring is ideal. Your paddocks establish faster. Your compost decomposes quicker. Soldier flies are naturally active. Everything works with the seasons instead of against them, but you can start any time of year if you're willing to adapt. Starting in winter, focus on System 3. Get your fodder production dialed in. Build your soldier fly farm indoors where it's warm. Scale up Systems 1 and 2 as the weather improves. Starting in summer, paddocks and compost will explode with growth. Take advantage of it. Get those systems producing fast and bank the savings while you build out your soldier fly and fodder setup for the colder months ahead. Here's a mistake people make. They try to build all 3 systems at once. They get overwhelmed. They quit. Don't do that. Start with one system, master it, then add the next, then the third. Give yourself 3 to 6 months to get everything running smoothly. Start with the rotational paddock method if you've got yard space. It's the easiest to set up and maintain. Move to compost integration once your paddocks are established. Add the soldier fly and fodder factory last as your winter backup, or reverse it if you're in a small space. Start with fodder and soldier flies since they don't require much room. Add compost integration next. Scale into paddocks if you ever expand your property. The order doesn't matter, the commitment does. One more thing, eggs. If you're doing this for egg production, you need to know that free-range, naturally fed chickens lay differently than commercial birds on layer feed. They produce fewer eggs, but those eggs are nutritionally superior. Thicker shells, darker yolks, more omega-3s, better flavor. If you're selling eggs, you can charge more. People will pay premium prices for genuinely free-range eggs from chickens fed real food. Market them right, and you're not just saving money on feed, you're making money from better eggs. If you're not selling and just feeding your family, those fewer but better eggs are exactly what you want anyway. Quality over quantity. So here's where we are. 3 systems, rotational paddocks for greens and bugs, soldier fly farms and fodder production for year-round consistency. They eliminate your feed bill entirely while producing healthier chickens and better eggs. It's more work than opening a bag of pellets, and it saves you just as much money. Plus, you're building a system that gets easier over time as everything establishes and you figure out your rhythm. The chickens eating money out of your wallet, they're about to start paying you back. Not in cash, in self-sufficiency, in food security, in knowing that no matter what happens to supply chains or feed prices, your flock keeps producing because your systems keep running. That's the real value. If this strategy changes the way you look at your backyard flock and your monthly budget, please subscribe and like the channel. We are uncovering the self-sufficient secrets that modern systems have tried to bury. Start growing your independence today. The next treasure of homesteading wisdom will be revealed soon.